do some sketchy shit. Do-da, do-da, hope I get away with it. Oh, do-da, day.
Hi you folks, I'm Dan Hollifield. Welcome to Last Man Standing, which used to be a big and bustling place for the after show of Stupid O'Clock. But the further we get from the plague years, the fewer people actually have time to stay up late and join into the shenanigans. So, good. They're no longer stuck at home and bored, and they are having full and meaningful lives of their own, which doesn't bother me in the slightest. I'll be sitting here for a few minutes. I will monologue a little bit, play a couple ads, and then go away and leave you in peace. It's not a big deal. This is not about my ego. I'm not trying to grow the channel. I'm not trying to get monetized. I just do this because when there are other people here, it's a lot of fun to continue the late night conversations that were begun in Stupid O'Clock, or the late night conversations that were not begun in Stupid O'Clock, but began here. Not going to take the channel down. Not going to delete the other videos in the playlist for this, but it has become mostly me monologuing for a little while and then saying goodnight. It seems like I'm kind of cheating y'all because people aren't here and it's just me and I'm monologuing and Lord only knows I'm not Johnny Carson, so you're not going to be entertained. I'm not even. Well, let's not call out a late night TV host that I might need at a later date for advertising purposes in case the books ever take off. We'll just say um, I'm an average guy with an average life, and if I put two more words to that, then I do know a very famous comedian that would probably sue me. Um, it's his copyright. I would just be borrowing it, which I can't do. Um, don't even really want to do. Let's see here. Um, StreamYard seems to be doing as much as it can to price itself out of existence. They're raising rates, they're making unreasonable demands, and they're not increasing the services provided to the content creators. I guess StreamYard's already made its money, and they think that anybody that uses it's got to be rich, because you can broadcast to YouTube, and yeah, like that's going to earn me an extra 50 cents a month. Sorry, not interested. Let me answer this comment. There we go. Daniel Barra is with us in the chat, and I am very glad to see him. Um, sorry, the show is going to be a little disjointed and very short, but if I had a long monologue in me at the moment, I would probably type it up and make it into an Aphelion editorial. Aphelion's been going for 28 years now, and it is something I am very, very proud of. We've helped over 500 writers turn pro without costing me a dime, without costing any readers a dime, without any ads, any fees. There's no submission fees, there's no readers fees, there's no subscription fees. It's just there. It exists as it has done for over a quarter of a century. It's a place for people to read up and coming science fiction and fantasy and horror writers' work without having to get their billfolds out of their pockets. I'm especially proud of no ads. I'm not trying to make money off of Aphelion. I've never wanted to make money off of it. Somebody suggested that I could, and they're not around in any of the chats or anything anymore because I said no. This is not a business. This is a permanent floating writers workshop. We're gifting the world with extraordinary talents that came to us for a little bit of guidance, a little bit of training, a little bit of editing, and soon enough, they'll learn how to do all that on their own. They'll have their own first readers and critique groups, go through all of it so they don't need us, and they will sell their work, which is ultimately what I'm after. Every time we get a writer who says, "Hey, I sold such and such a story. I'm sorry I have to ask you if you'll take it out of the archives." I look at it and I go, "I don't have a problem with that. You got paid. That's what I'm here for. You got paid." This is why we exist. This is why everybody that's on the staff volunteers unpaid to do what we do. This is why uh, when the discussion forums are actually not being attacked by spam bots, readers can offer commentary on the different stories and help the writers learn a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more until the fateful day when they go, "Hey, I sold this. I'm now a pro." And that's my happiest moment as well as my saddest moment because I know they won't be sending us very much anymore because they've hit the big time. They might not make very much in royalties at first, but the more they continue, the more they polish their work, the more they get accepted into the pro markets, the bigger they get, the more they get paid. Everything works out. And I'm just sitting back here going, well, they know who I am. I've gone to conventions where there was a writers, editors, and publishers panel that I was included in, and I didn't get asked very many questions until the moderator goes, "Well, I'd like to hear what Dan has to say." And I asked for a show of hands of the people in the audience. How many had stories published in Aphelion? About three-quarters of the audience raised their hand. I looked over at the rest of the panel and I go, when you get a submission that's polished and follows the submission guidelines and everything else, and you like the story, I'm the guy that gifted you that. And they just kind of sit back and go, we had no idea that you even existed. Yeah, well, lots of people don't know I exist. Um, Semi-private. I'm not trying to hide my identity. I'm not trying to hide my affiliation with Aphelion. I'm not trying to hide away from the world because my level of fame is extremely tolerable and it's extremely pleasurable. I get to hang out at sci-fi conventions with my own publisher and several other publishers, and I'm given a modicum of respect, professional editors and whatnot. I also get some respect from them. I mean, not more than I deserve by any means. I mean, seriously, I'm just small time. Very, very, very small time. But when people see my name, they expect a certain level of quality attached to whatever story it is, whether it's someone else's or my own. Now, I've had some wonderful editors, um, and I do believe quite firmly that every writer of any level needs editors, because when you're writing the story, you're so close to it, you can't see problems as they crop up. You can't see the forest for the trees. You're too closely involved. You can't see typos. You can't see comma splices. You can't see a lot of grammatical errors because in your head, you go through the manuscript and you read it the way you meant it to be, not the way you actually wrote it, but the way you intended to write it. And we can make mistakes, lots of mistakes. Um, I have had a lot of fun with various editors that I've had going, oh, you're not familiar with this classic novel or this classic short story or whatever, that I used a literary reference from to make the context of my own story make sense. And they go, oh, no, I didn't know that. And I'm going, check it out. You'll probably like it. It's kind of old, or it's kind of pop culture, but it's worthwhile checking out. Uh, and that's what I do. I drop literary references and pop cultural references and all kinds of things into almost every story. The newest book that's out so far, it actually has some biographical stuff in there. I was hanging out with some folks that knew a person who um, did a thing that was not nice, and someone else got arrested for being hired by this guy, and he wound up, well, both of them wound up in jail, and the instigator of the evil deed wound up escaping from jail and consequently was mentioned on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries, which led to his rearrest and continuation of prison sentence. Um, I'm not particularly happy about the fact that he went off the deep end and decided to do something horrendous. Um, I'm not particularly happy about the fate of the intended victim of the horrendous act, but I can't deny that history does happen and ordinary people play small and sometimes insignificant parts of that, while the main characters of that either get away with it or wind up being punished. Mm, I wouldn't have wanted him to get away with it, but I wouldn't have wanted him to actually do that evil thing to start with. It was a very complicated situation, which in no means excuses any of it. He just, he shouldn't have. He shouldn't have. And if you know the history of Athens, Georgia, you probably already know what I'm talking about without me having to say anything specific whatsoever. But it does feature in a story in the book because it was a very traumatic time in my life. Um, I actually knew someone who was capable of engineering and financing a horrendous act. And I didn't think him capable of that because he always treated me like a nice guy, but that doesn't excuse anything. He did what he did, he got the punishment that he deserved, which I'm fine with. And led the world on a merry chase after his escape from his just punishment, and then got caught again because, hey, media exists. So, as far as I know, he's either still serving out the rest of his sentence or he has served out the rest of his sentence without escaping again. And I just don't know. I'm sitting here going, I don't know. I don't want to know. I'm not involved with that particular individual anymore. Um, haven't seen them since before the trial. I basically just want justice to be served fairly. And if you did something, you need to face up to it and own it and serve your time. If you serve your time, You may be able to be reintegrated with what passes for modern society. And that was not an insult to modern society. It's just an acknowledgement that times change, people change, societal norms change, and not always for the better. There should be. Okay, this is out in left field. There should be a whole lot more acceptance of things that are now being uh, demonized, that are not worthy of being demonized. Um, there are a lot of people whose lives are in danger for something as simple as being born in the wrong body. That's not something you should be penalizing people for. Um, Not while you're accepting the existence of child predators and things like that. The two are not remotely equal. You may be told that they are, but the people who are telling you are wrong. Totally, drastically, catastrophically wrong. No one who has never harmed someone should need to live in fear. No one who is different from whatever the accepted norm may be at any particular moment in time needs to live in fear. I could get deeply personal now, but I won't, because other people's privacy is involved, and that's sacrosanct to me. Um, I can't do that. I'm not philosophically or morally able to cross that line. So look, a vampire without an invitation, I ain't coming in that house 'cause ain't nobody asked me in. And I ain't begging for an invitation. So, you know, the world today is a very complex set of equations. There are not many mathematicians or philosophers or sociologists who can explain a way to put it to rights. But you can look at it if you got the least amount of common sense, you can look at it. You can look at what's happening and you can say with a very firm conviction that this is not right. People should not have to live in fear. No one except criminals should have to live in fear. And the people who are living in fear are not, by any stretch of the imagination, criminals. The definition for this particular profession has been stretched and mutated and beaten with a hammer until it fits what other people fear. Fear. That's the thing. I shouldn't have to live in fear. My children shouldn't have to live in fear. My wife shouldn't have to live in fear. My neighbors shouldn't have to live in fear. The guy that collects the grocery carts, the buggies, at one of the grocery stores I go to, he shouldn't live in fear. The people who live, how to put this politically correctly, alternative lifestyles where no one is harmed, everything is voluntary, shouldn't have to live in fear. Meanwhile, our government does not promote equality, rationality, common sense, um, actual safety, and a dozen other things I can't even begin to mention right now. They're just, they're very, very Nazi. It's not what we wanted. It's not what we voted for. It's not what we approve of. There are folks that are going, oh, yeah, I'm a racist and this administration supports my racism. You're wrong. Not about this administration supporting it, but it being acceptable. You're wrong. Grow up, mature, join the 21st century. There are minds out there that can think as well or even better than you can, but they think differently. They are different biologically, emotionally, culturally, and none of that makes one whit of difference. Difference is what built this country. Immigrants coming in and finding a new home and building a new life after being terrorized in their own countries that they were originally from, or economically disadvantaged in the countries they were originally from. Um, yes, yes, that is a reference to the Irish potato famine. Um, y'all have never read the inscription on the tablet there at the Statue of Liberty? Give me your poor, your tired, those yearning to breathe free. I mean, I know that's not an exact quote because I can't remember all of it. I don't have any notes here. This is not like it was a planned vlog. It's just me freeforming here. What I find ironic is that every single European descended person in this country is an immigrant. Doesn't matter if it was the 1600s, the 1500s, the 1700s, 1900s. It doesn't matter. The United States is the place you can go to build a life without the threat of people turning against you because you're not from around here, are you? See, I've had to face that. You ain't from around here, are you? All of my life. I am a Georgia redneck. I don't sound like it most of the time, but I can put the accent on. I've lived in East Tennessee, right up next to the Smoky Mountains. I am a hillbilly. Don't put the accent on most of the time, but I can. I've been the eternal stranger. The you weren't born in this village person. Yeah, well, there's a road, ain't there? I could drive here. There's so many nationalities that have contributed so much to this great country we've got. And people who are intolerant are trying to ruin almost 3 centuries of work accepting the poor, the tired, the hungry, those yearning to breathe free, to make their own lives, to be protected by our collective way of life, to grow and to do and to become whatever they can, whatever they wish. Let's not besmirch that. Politicians are temporary. Struggles are long term. Human rights are human rights, whether you agree with it or not. We can't make them apply everywhere across the world, but here in our own little, I don't want to say dominion, but because that sounds like it's totalitarian. In our own country, we have certain unalienable rights. God, that's a difficult word. How Ah, Jefferson has a lot to answer for. Uh, Giving us words we can't pronounce is one of the things, but then there were others. Um, the right to speak your mind. Whether you're wrong or right, the right to express yourself, whether on film or in print or on camera, whether it's news or vlogging, the right to be safe from what amounts to illegal search and seizure. Yeah, that's very Nazi right there, the illegal search and seizure. Um, the right to make the most of your life, the best of your ability, to do what you can do, to learn what you can learn, to be what you can be. This is fundamentally American. This is why we exist. I mean, we drugged so many um, people from Africa over here to be farm workers, or to put it more accurately, slaves. And now they've got the same rights as anybody else. Some people aren't happy with that. Well, what the fuck kind of troglodyte are you? No. Uh-uh. Everybody is, everybody has to be covered under the same rules of law, have the same rights, have the same liberties. The real sticking point is that we don't all have the same opportunities because everyone's life is different. Um, I was never able to finish college because I ran out of money. Turns out to be a good thing because what I'm actually good at was not what I was studying in college. Well, I was good at what I was studying in college, but it's not one of those things where you can easily get a job to support a family. It's kind of a niche thing. You got to be really famous. You got to be really talented, and you've got to be really lucky to actually be able to make a living in that particular career path. I was standing there one day in the art building because I was an art major, kind of trying to admire a piece of my artwork that was hanging on the wall without criticizing it unduly. And a professor walked by and goes, "Oh shit, we've got one of those." I didn't react. I didn't let him know it was me. But apparently somebody that wanted to be an architect as well as someone who did artwork for science fiction and fantasy book covers did not go over very well with this particular professor. Um, Go figure. It doesn't matter. Um, I ran out of money, had to go get a job at an outside source, worked at a factory for almost 50 years, made a lot of money, paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. Um, Managed to buy things and pay things off and become comfortable because I had regular employment, even though almost none of it had anything to do with my actual talents. Discovered new talents along the way that did become valuable to the company, but they weren't, well, individuals were particularly impressed, but company management as a whole was not particularly impressed. But by that point, I didn't care. Uh, I discovered that I had a talent for uh, making music, for making even more complicated artwork, for, thanks to my dad, carpentry, plumbing, electrical, simple electrical work in the house, um, landscaping, which I knew I was good at, um, tons of things, most of which I still use, even at my, well, I wouldn't call it advanced age, but it's definitely middle age. Um, Keep waiting for Goths and Visigoths to roll up in the yard, but I have trebuchets. Um, I am very good at Roman engineering for some reason, probably due to growing up on a farm and using the resources that you have without spending extra money. Um, I did a couple of little things in the house and then found out that the method I was using may have been one of the same primitive methods that was used to erect Stonehenge. I'm going, well, um, it's wedges and ramps and inclined planes and fulcrums, and this is just basic geometry stuff I was taught in elementary school, stuff my dad refined my teaching of those things. The world is a multitudinously varied place, and there is room for all of us here. I mean, seriously, we're not about to run out of room. 90% of the United States is just empty. A lot of people tend to live in cities Never understood why. But, improve public transportation, and that would be a viable option. But if you don't have reliable public transportation that is affordable to the masses, you just have ivory towers and elites. And that out in the countryside, you have real people. Not saying that the elites in the ivory towers aren't real people, but they don't behave like real people. Anyway, I've almost gone an hour here. Let me run a couple of ads and then I'll shut up and go away. All right. I think this one. In the early days of the Korean War, an underage boy ran away from his family's farm in West Virginia to join the Army. He quickly transferred to the Air Corps and became a fighter pilot. Somehow, he became useful to several alphabet agencies, so he was recruited to help them during the Cold War. Eventually, he got tired of being a spy and tried to retire. Fate had other ideas. These are some of the early adventures of Captain Tom Darby of the U.S. Army Air Corps. From before that fateful night, he rode his motorcycle around a curve too fast on a back road in rural Georgia and accidentally began a new life entirely. And here's one for what's basically book 2 of the Tom Darby Adventures, even though it was published first. Well, stories speak for themselves. I have to offer my sincere apology to anyone that wants to jump on those ads for music copyright claims or whatever. Sorry, I composed that myself. It's not some public domain bullshit. It's me. I own it. I copyrighted it. It's mine. All my videos have my music in it just to prevent some idiot from claiming that they own it. That they don't. I own it. I have had people I've had people I have had to defend myself against with YouTube copyright claims, and I'm going, sorry, YouTube, I wrote that. I own it. I have the copyright. I can show you the copyright. I can prove my copyright in a court of law. Do you really want to take this any further? And every time the idiot trying to claim copyright over my music has been overturned. What do you think? I'm stupid? Oh, I may be a farm boy, but I know what I'm doing. I'm not dangerous. I'm not vindictive. And I'm not easily taken advantage of. I've been through some stuff. I've learned the warning signs of someone who is trying to use you for their own advantage. And I've learned the warning signs of someone who is determined to claim things that they do not own. With intimidating threats. Never having met me in person and realizing that intimidating me is a lost cause, honey. You just ain't gonna work. I don't care what the laws are in your little, well, started to quote somebody else, but that would be insulting. I don't care what the laws or the requirements are in someplace overseas. I have dotted my I's and crossed my T's, and I own my own copyrights to my own work. And if you try and take down one of my videos because you think you can get a music copyright claim, you're doomed to never succeed, because I've got the proof, I've got the music, I've got the registration date of the copyrights. Everything's right here in black and white, provable in a court of law. And I may look poor, but I got plenty of money to give to a lawyer to rake you over the coals and take everything you've ever owned for trying to attack me. Wish I could spread that out a bit for people that I know that are being attacked by this cultural shift that is pretty much, well, I lack a better word in my own vocabulary. It's pretty much just bullshit. You don't attack people for being people. You don't condemn people for being different. Being different is what this country is all about. E pluribus unum, out of many, one. We bring together everyone that wants a better life, that's willing to work for their better life, that has been working for their better life despite current political baloney that's rounding up people that are hardworking, honest U.S. citizens with paperwork and shipping them off to South America to a very notorious prison camp and treated like folks going to Buchenwald or Auschwitz in World War II. That ain't going to cut it. I mean, we're not going to stand for that. There are a few of us that think it's a good thing, but they're stupid. They're actually stupid. Yes, I'm getting a bit irate, and that's why I need to end this now. But otherwise, I will get even more irate, and I will forget to be even moderately politically correct, which I've never been even marginally politically correct in my life. I have my opinions, and my opinions are: send me you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry. The teeming masses yearning to breathe free. Join the melting pot that is the United States and help us improve ourselves, our culture, our traditions, to be more than we've ever been before, to add to what we already have. Without surrendering anything. That's the thing. That's what the U.S. is all about. That's the thing. Which is this country in the middle of nowhere. But we are supposed to welcome everybody in. supposed to. A lot of people are trying to stop that now. That's stupid. Where do you think our strength comes from? Diversity. Many nations, many peoples, many traditions. This is what gave us birth. This is what guided the freedom that we have now. That, yes, several people are trying to undo all of that, but that's political, and I can't name names or anything like that, but it's really annoying. I have a friend that swears I'm one of the old gods of Appalachia. I can neither confirm nor deny that. But I've got my eye on you. Everyone who bears ill will towards us, the ordinary people. That pause went on entirely too long because I could not think of anything that I was allowed to say on YouTube. So we'll just call it a night right here. If you're evil, we'll find you. We will punish you. If you're good, we will welcome you and celebrate you and probably even adopt your holidays. Because we always need more holidays. I mean, seriously, we work too much as it is. Any chance for a day off or a feast of some kind? We're up for that. All right. Good night, folks. And hope I didn't put you off with any of my opinions that I may have expressed. It is my channel. I should be allowed to do that. But I have tried to be as general as possible and not mess up anything for anybody else. In the words of the immortal Chris Meir, ciao, Papa.
Transmission overload.
System will shut down. System will shut down. System will shut down. System will shut down.